From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, Jesse Waters. With Gina on news, Bald Brian on sound effects, and Ian Bagg joins us for a new true crime segment, The Body Bag. And now, disrupting whiteness, Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get on. Mandate. Get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian.
I am douche director. Name my new autobiography.
We will bring in Ian Bagg when he lands, and we'll talk to him about true crime and comedy and everything else.
So excited.
I got a bunch of stuff waiting for you guys. I had two weird thoughts, not related. One is when I grew up, they had the same basic problems we have today, in the sense that in the 70s, they're talking a lot about fuel and carbon, and they're talking a lot about the environment. People forget how much environmental talk there was in the 70s. It was called ecology back then, but there was a lot of discussion. Now,
isn't that where they came up with, I think, that I shall never see a smokestack lovely as a tree?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of Indians crying by the side of the road. They sort of had everything wrong because I think there was an ice age that was coming instead of a global warming. Right. But whatever it was ecology and no nukes and all that kind of stuff. But there used to be a lot of discussions. Now, this isn't maybe an LA thing. Fuel was a big issue and traffic was a big issue. And there was a lot of carpooling discussions, tons of carpool. We never stopped talking about carpooling. You got to carpool. You got to get everyone together and start a carpool.
Yeah.
They would talk about starting a carpool like starting a book club. Like you got, if you work and you work with more than 8 people, then you got to start working out a carpool. My grandmother was in a carpool.
With that poor miserable driver.
It's so funny that she was such a bohemian European and she got picked up by Dwight Yoakam's brother, essentially in a pickup truck of all things, and probably crank up the Merle Haggard and probably talk to him. He'd probably talk about how much he loved squirrel hunting.
You could drop me off a block down, not right in front of the door.
It added to the irony and the misery of the woman, but. Nonstop carpool talk. I don't really hear any carpool talk anymore. There's talks about transportation and things of that nature. Yeah. There used to be a lot of diamond lane talk. We don't really talk about HOV or high occupancy vehicle lane or whatever. It was this whole thing. It was pushed hard for a good decade. And it didn't catch on or something?
It kind of did, because you know how leftovers became meal prep? Did carpool become ride share? Basically you pay to carpool by getting an Uber?
I don't know, but it just never... It is not discussed like it used to be.
Oh, no, the word carpool doesn't exist. Nobody talks about it.
I feel like you're onto something, but I think it's the advent of the electric car. Maybe that has sort of tamped down the carpool talk.
But the carpool talk was raging in the mid-'70s, made it into the mid-'80s, started to trickle off around the mid-'80s, was gone by 2004 or something, and... that predated the electric car.
When were the diamond lanes invented? I feel like since I've been here.
It's one of those things where I'm going to say it's been 40 years. That I would say out here probably early 80s, mid-80s or something.
I remember them from the mid-90s.
It's been a while.
That's that was the incentive people needed, and then they stopped talking about it?
I guess,
get to go in the fast lane, which isn't really fast.
But the diamond lane frequently stops at the same pace that all the other traffic. I still, when the left lane of the freeway comes to an utter halt, I marvel every time. Nobody's turning left. Yep. Nobody is going onto a side street. I get that we're slow in the left lane. How do we come to an complete and utter stop. And then you go, well, maybe there was an accident or something. No,
Nope.
we stopped.
It's just 4 o'clock.
And then we started moving again,
Yeah,
and then
yep,
we stopped.
yep.
We're in the left lane.
Yep.
How does this work? Anyway, I also had an unrelated thought, which is, and maybe some of you youngins can think about it. I was, first off, I was driving Natalia to her volleyball practice because she's made the varsity team in high school. I was very pumped up about it.
Is she a sophomore? You probably don't know the answer.
Yeah, you
Is
don't
she
know.
a sophomore?
She's going to be 15, so she's probably
Going
gonna be
into the 10th grade.
Yeah. She's going to be a
Yeah,
sophomore.
that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I've seen some of those Instagram stories. She's out for blood when she plays.
I said to her when I was driving her, I said, look, there is no planning for anything. I love playing Pop Warner football. A few days earlier, I wrote down the name of many of my old coaches who I recall throughout the years and what an impact they made in my life and something. I will tell anyone who will listen that the biggest and most positive thing that ever happened to me was Pop Warner football, and that I wish it for my son.
You never mentioned on the show. You should bring it up once in a while.
Well,
if it's that impactful.
Did I play Pop Warner?
Yeah.
What's Pop
if
Warner
it's-
now?
It sounds like it was a big deal in your life. That's the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, I got to Google it.
I got to write that
Let me
down.
Google
then.
it. I'm
make
not
a
sure what
note.
that means.
Have Chris put it on your screen.
But my son wants nothing to do with it.
Right.
Never did. Didn't even try. And my daughter's the jock.
Yeah.
And I'm as a red-blooded chauvinist. I thought, no, the boy's going to play Pop Warner football, and the girl will do whatever the girl does in sports, or nothing. Like, who
Cheerlead.
cares? She'll cheerlead. He'll
In the
play.
band.
Yeah.
He'll play football. He did nothing. And will do nothing. He was sleeping with Phil when I was driving her to her practice, and I thought, can't plan anything.
no.
You just, people are who they are.
water
They go
reaches
the way
own level.
they go.
Mm-hmm.
This thing, this impress upon thing, this thing where you're dead. The number one thing is if you're a carpenter or a bit of a mechanic like I am, it's always, well, your dad must have dragged you down to the garage. I was like, no,
Far from it.
far from it.
Yeah.
The opposite.
Yours, I wonder if your grandfather was, because Sonny's sure not. So does it skip a generation? So maybe your grandchild will care.
It's a recessive gene.
Right.
You're
It's dormant.
people are just interested in shit or not, and
Water reaches
that's
its own level.
that's about it.
Yeah.
We keep doing this thing where it's like we must expose everyone to classical music so they'll learn to
Mm-hmm.
play the viola. It's like, not if they don't want to play.
Mm.
That's how it goes. All right.
That's
so,
pretty awesome, though. Christy did 4 years of varsity, but that's pretty awesome. The athletic girl, not just athletic. I don't mean it like in a physical way. I just mean like the go getter. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like the badass who's like, I'm gonna play fucking varsity sports as a sophomore.
Yeah,
which
she could,
can be hard.
She could for sure get a college scholarship.
yeah, I told her,
Don't include the part about burning homework in the pool.
Oh yeah.
if you even if you ride the pine next year, I don't know if she knows that reference, but
she
it
will.
doesn't matter. You're on the varsity
Yeah.
team.
Yes, for
That's the key. Time passes quickly. You'll start your junior and senior year.
Yeah, you'll leg up.
All right, we had I saw this broadcast or this news story about South Korean broadcasting. The Parade of Nations, they're getting into some trouble. I don't know if you guys saw this, but as the teams were entering the stadium, the Olympic Stadium,
I
Empty
did
Olympic.
watch that.
they did this thing on the South Korean broadcast where they were like, it's Italy. And then they'd show like a pizza because that's what they're known for. Now, first things first.
Not Italian pizza.
Here comes Israel.
Well, I don't know if you guys can imagine how this works, but there's the Italian team and they show a margarita, or it looks like a
some
margarita
weird
pizza,
pizza.
some weird pizza. The point is as I was looking at it,
It's got black olives. It's like
I
a
know.
Domino's pizza.
I thought, well, first off, the Italian team looks like they have a pizza on their chest.
Yes.
Good point.
I mean, it looks like they have a
Circle.
margarita pizza on their chest. So if you want to live down that stereotype, but it wasn't this that upset people. Well, I don't know. Is there sound to this, or just want to
No,
play
it's
it?
all been scrubbed. But,
or you-
it's not even in English.
You can
so
play
we
the next. You can show the next one.
Chris,
Then,
translate for
then they have the. Was it the
Norway.
Swedish Norway? And
No,
they
there's
show
salmon?
they show a piece of fish. Okay. I guess so.
Necessary, but
fishing
okay.
country.
Then they.
What is that? That can't be real.
This is Haiti.
No.
Oh my God.
That's not real.
And what it says is they're known for upheaval. The political situation is fogged by the assassination of the president.
There's Haiti.
image.
Haiti is like a burning car and protesters out in the street throwing bottles.
Yeah,
Upheaval.
It's masked protesters walking towards the camera with black smoke billowing behind them.
And if you want to spin this, you could say known for revolution, known for rising up, but
Empowerment.
upheaval. And this looks like chaos.
Yeah. Well,
That's not real.
Whoa.
then there's another one, which is it the Ukraine?
Ukraine.
The Ukraine, they show them entering and they show Chernobyl.
Is that a meltdown? Oh, I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's Chernobyl.
It's a
Wow.
meltdown.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But, all
They're
right.
keeping it honest. This
They
is
ain't,
what's in
they ain't woke, and it's kind of what they're known for. It's
There's
a little
some
on the
other
nose.
ones, too, like
Oh, really?
Marshall Islands was once a nuclear test site for the U.S.
That's right.
Now
Mm-hmm.
composed of over 1,200
Throwing
islands.
shade.
Wow.
El Salvador, they just put a Bitcoin thing.
Really?
And then, yeah, and then Sweden, they wrote developed country of welfare, but then there was a typo in developed country, which actually turned it into cow blood soup.
It's good.
So, look, we may complain about Fox and CNN over here,
Wow.
but we ain't that.
Was ours like a rootin' tootin' cowboy, or what was America?
Yeah, I'm dying to know.
Oh, that's a good question. I never
Hot
never
dogs,
looked in that.
hamburgers,
Now,
apple pie.
is Ian Bagg here, by the way? Well, why don't we escort
got it.
Ian in and we can look for America.
I mean, we got a lot of choices. Do they want to go, Trump? Do they want to go
Land of guns.
Right. Do they want
Yeah.
to go, the morbidly obese?
My bet's on acid rain. Ian Bagg is
Hey,
here,
hey.
everybody.
How are you?
Good to see you, Ian.
Good to see you guys.
It's been, 2.5 months or something.
Man. We're becoming friends.
Ian has. We'll include Ian on this conversation, but yeah, we'll see what the symbol for America is. If in fact they covered all of the countries that were entering the Olympic Stadium. Ian's got a podcast, Sword and Scale Rewind. It's with Matt, the Porcelain Punisher Fondelier, and he was named that many years ago. But I thought it was a creative take on what he did to the bathroom.
It's an interesting way to go with it. The Punisher.
So I was talking to Chris about a couple of crazy cases that you guys were getting into before the mics heated up.
Yeah.
And I think there's a couple. We'll start with the first one. The one I was interested in is a couple that were fans of yours that attended your shows ended up turning into a little murder situation.
This is interesting. So I was watching Dateline. My wife was watching Dateline.
Sure.
And I was kind of paying attention. And I just happened to look up and I seen this girl and I was like, that's weird. And then they started talking about it. And then I'm like, holy crap, I know those people. And I went on my Facebook and they came to shows at the Houston Improv. Mm-hmm. And I remember them because do you remember would you go to the Houston Improv when it used to be like a garden restaurant beforehand?
Oh my God.
Right?
That is a crime scene story there.
He's having recovered memory.
That was one of the I played
He took it badly.
Yeah. No, because that was one of those watershed moments in my life, which is you're talking about this sort of rainforest motif.
Ooh.
Yeah, so there's this crazy thing. So what happened was I was in Cabo San Paradise with Jimmy and 5 other couples because Jimmy did this thing where it's like celebrity auction thing and you bid on the multi room mansion
Mansion with the
on the
chef
beach with the chef and people handing you papaya.
Sure.
And we were watching a movie theater at night. We'd see a movie in the movie theater, and then every morning was like breakfast, and everything was spread out. The best,
lovely.
the best. But I had to cut out a couple days early because I had a couple shows at the Addison Improv. And so I flew to the Addison Improv and stayed at like the Red Roof Inn across the street where I had my choice between drinking red wine out of a mug or a plastic cup that would collapse under the pressure of my own fingers. Like, it would literally collapse as you held it. And where the TV... This is a bad marker where the TV went the same direction as the bed.
Oh, I love that.
You had to lay sideways on the bed to watch TV because the room wasn't big enough to get it at your feet. You know?
That is the Marriott Residence Inn specialty.
Right.
That's their style right there. Putting it along the side of the bed.
Right. So
lean into the TV.
This is what Adam would call out of the hot tub and into the snow.
Yes, and then we made the 3 or 4 or 5 hour pilgrimage from Addison to Houston in the promoter's broken down old car. And then when we went to Houston, it was explained that this wasn't a club. It was, in fact, a crazy themed restaurant with, ivy, and it was a botanical garden.
Wow.
And it was never meant to do stand-up, but some rich guy's wife said, I have this idea, and spent millions.
On the so one side was this crazy restaurant, but on the other side they would do magic shows. That's where the showroom was, and it was all these weird levels. Remember the tiers and the stage was like 8 feet in the air.
I don't know if this is cool or the tackiest thing I've ever heard.
Tackiest.
Okay.
And very Houston.
It was shared a parking lot with the world's biggest bar. The parking lot was a huge parking lot. And it was literally the world's biggest bar was next to it. And so, of course, people are just shit-faced and leaning against everyone's car and smoking out in the parking lot and fighting and gunplay. And I was like, what the fuck? And we did the show. And so people were scared to go to the club because it was in this dicey part of town. And there's this huge bar next to it with all this riffraff like floating around drunk in the parking lot. And no one wanted to go see the shows.
And it was in a floodplain. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Like they had signs up warning you if it was raining, you had to get out of that area.
It was out of over a decade of traveling and doing shows, it was the only time after the 2 shows Friday, 2 shows Saturday, whatever, where Mike August came back to the dressing room and he went, the club didn't make the guarantee. Like, the guarantee was like 20 grand or something, and it's like not even close. Like, these guys are just eating it. Like, it was right at the end of that club, and I don't think people wanted to go. They wouldn't go to the club. They thought it was too dangerous. I mean, they were right. And
smash cut to Jimmy and his friends in an infinity pool.
And I always use it. I know. I always use it. I know. Like, if I had gone, from Cabo San Lucas to Portland or Seattle or something, I could have, I wouldn't have got the Benz, but I had to go throw myself into this pit. But this is my argument for Mike August and my argument for me. If you ever say, oh, that guy's way out of bounds, or I disagree with him or whatever, he just came backstage and he said, club owner, he guaranteed us 20, he made 10. I said, well, but the guarantee's the guarantee, right? And he's like, yeah. And I said, what do you want to do? And he said, why don't we take 15? We'll meet him in the middle. And I said, fine. And he just went and did that. So I got home from that trip and I'm like, fuck, I don't know if what am I doing with my life?
That's funny.
Yeah, so I do know that club.
Do you remember, did you sell
Minnesota, August 27th.
Yeah. Did you sell merch there?
I do remember standing in the lobby
in
after
the trees?
show, like amongst the trees.
Yeah, that's.
Are there pictures of that place?
I gotta see this. This sounds like the what's the hotel in Vegas that has like the white tigers and all the shit in the lobby?
The MGM.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, once in a while they will take there's a repurposing that once in a while you see what is clearly meant to be a Taco Bell from the 70s, and now a guy's serving Greek food out of it, and you're like, right. I can, and then once in a while you'll see what was an IHOP, but it says tax preparation or something.
The dentist office.
Feels weird, but okay. But nothing was weirder than doing comedy in a rainforest.
The rainforest,
the Mirage.
Well, the thing.
Thank you. That's the one.
Wasn't there a rainforest in the cafe in the MGM as well, though? I think
the Mirage had the tigers and the rainforest theme.
I'm definitely talking about the Mirage because that's where we stayed. Thank you.
Well. what for me it was when I started selling merch. I started selling merch because I had to take my gig to another level, and you had to get out and meet the people. Get out and meet the people, sell your CD. Get out there, kid. Come on, we're going to do it all. And I remember these people wouldn't leave. They just kept talking to me. They just kept.
They're scared to go into the parking lot. The world's biggest bar was right next door.
They're hoping you'll walk them to their car.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I didn't no idea I was security, and I had to walk them out. Oh, that's how the murder happened. But and she was gorgeous, and he was playing way over his head. That's what I remember. And it was at that time when Facebook, you had just the personal page, so people followed you, but they became your friend. You know, they weren't following you. They were actually, it was weird, right?
Right, yeah. You're interacting for the first time.
Yeah, so they became my friend, and they would send me a Christmas card on there. They would say hi to me every once in a while, you know, and I never paid attention to it. But I remember her being stunning and him not being stunning.
He outkicked his coverage.
He didn't outkick his coverage. He got into a different stadium.
Wow.
Like it was
different sport.
It was
He
insane.
wandered onto the field and all of a sudden.
Besides that being so memorable, was there anything about them that seemed off, or one of them was nuts?
No, but I could tell they were like maybe trying to get me to go hang out. You know, one of those things. I was just like, okay, and I'm just like they're just
He
talking
likes
to
to
me.
watch.
Buy you a drink and see what happens.
Yeah.
And they're just talking, and I'm like, okay, this is getting, you know, and eventually, finally, I get out of there. I just kind of slid back into a tree.
Yep.
And then left.
Yeah. No, listen, if Ted Nugent wandered into that place, he'd never leave. They could never find him. They just couldn't. He'd be a gecko.
Do you remember the green room in that place and how filthy it was?
I know right where I was sitting where Mike August walked in. I was like, this is the worst 2 days of my life. He's like, well, it's going to get a little worse because you're going to be $5 or $10 grand lighter in the pocket when we're done with this. What year? I know what year I was there because the only good part about that whole Addison, Houston, whatever was, Ian knows, on a Saturday, you have some downtime, like in town, and you got nowhere to be until 8 o'clock that night, and saw the movie in the theater when it came out, The Social Network.
Oh, wow.
2009.
I was going to say 2008, 2009.
No, it's a little,
2011.
little toward the end, and the end of 9, or the end of 9. I think is when it was.
I really want to say 09.
So I would,
the end of
I would
like
say I was there
December
probably about a year before you. Like, so I just remember.
Why didn't you tell me?
Why did you reach out?
We weren't friends then.
I saw your note in the green room, but it was too fucking late by then. Get out. Note.
Just Adam, why?
So what was the case?
So I guess they were swingers.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. We have an intro that we kind of stepped on.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Yes, we do.
Hold on, everybody, hold on.
All right.
It's time
There has been another murder.
for Ian Bagg's Body Bag.
Oh my God, I love it.
Now,
That's sexy.
may
Proceed.
continue.
All right, so there's these swingers, see?
Chris, you got to find pictures of the inside of that club. They got to be.
They got to be around
somewhere.
Yeah,
Find
yeah.
pictures of the
Sorry, I was
You know-
listening to a clip. What was the name of the club?
You know,
Addison Improv?
No, the
Houston Improv.
Houston Improv.
Wait,
Joe-
is it the Houston Improv?
it's Houston Improv.
Yeah,
And-
it's confusing because it doesn't look like an improv.
Oh, okay.
It's not an improv. It's a
Joe
restaurant.
Coy's assistant, or wasn't assistant, he was his opener forever, and I'm blanking on his name, but
Chase?
yes, he used to run that place.
Oh, really?
So,
random?
Yeah, so
Fucker owes me $5 grand.
so he would have pictures of it for sure, absolutely. So you guys know
Okay,
him.
I'll hit him up.
Yeah, hit him up. So
Swingers.
So my wife's watching this, and the swingers they're talking about that she was beautiful. She was a flight attendant. She grew up in a Texas white trash town, and her parents named her after crystal meth. Mm-hmm. And her name was Crystal, which caught my ear. I was like, weird.
Wow.
So, and then I just kind of look over, and I'm like, oh, it's it seems familiar. And this is maybe 2 years ago, so it's
so wildly out of context. You wouldn't.
Yeah, it's so out of just out of left field. And then I just go on my Facebook and I'm just like, I look up that name and it comes up and boom, and I recognize the picture and I show my wife. She goes, "You fucker."
Fair.
Which is fair. I'm like, well, it's before I met you, so yeah. No, I said no. So, but it was crazy. So he ended up, I guess, getting jealous. She was meeting all these guys, and he got jealous, and he ended up murdering her. And he rode a bike.
You're surprised?
He rode a bike to kill her.
Buying her a pony.
It's always the husband. But I thought it was going to be some Bonnie and Clyde shit where she tricked him into like going on a murder spree. He just killed her.
He killed
her,
but he rode a bike to kill her. Like he went to make it look like he went and bought a bike at Walmart.
A penny farthing.
Yeah. A BMX.
I wish I would have hooked up with her after the show, and they would have killed me as long as it was Friday night.
Yeah.
Now, Saturday, no, I'm leaving the next morning. I certainly would want to be alive for that. But Friday, I would have really considered it a push.
How are your ticket sales Friday? That's the real question. Like, where did it all fall apart on your ticket sales?
It all fell apart on that weekend.
Was it like empty, like most shows, or like was there one full one and one empty one? Do you remember?
I had been playing pretty sold out shows everywhere all the time. They would just keep adding shows on. I'd play 3 shows at Cobb's on a Thursday and stuff like that. And this time I walked out thinking, this is not my usual attendance.
Yeah.
So that's all I got out of it. I can't remember which shows were crowded and which ones weren't, but they were all...
You must have walked into that parking lot thinking, it's packed. I've done it again.
There's 7,000 trucks in the parking lot.
This is what it looks like outside.
They're all going to the bar.
Yeah, they're all going to the other one.
Where is Max Bad, the Houston bar that is like the country's biggest bar? Because you'll see that place from the outside. It's listen, nobody loves booze more than me, but it's off-putting to see like a 4-story bar.
Yeah,
you know
just too much going on. You're just like
too much.
Yeah. So anyways, he murdered her on a BMX bike, and she was gorgeous, and he. I can't remember how they caught him, but they caught him because of receipts. He used a credit card.
How did he really?
To kill her?
He pretended she was cocaine.
Yeah, how did he kill her?
He bludgeoned her. They
always
bludgeoned her.
That's when you know the guy's just an angry dude. It's a crime of passion. It's not like they were fighting over a gun. I've seen a lot of Dateline too. When the dude bludgeons the woman, it's a lot of times it's that sexually frustrated, pent up anger.
It's also not a good way to kill a spouse because all the first year detectives know this is a husband, this is a grudge, this is a lover, this is whoever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Doesn't look like the robbery gone wrong.
No.
It's always that. Well, she just disappeared 12 hours ago, and I don't know where she went. Why are you all scratched up? Why is your face scratched up?
Yeah.
We have a cat.
As there's like boxes of Clorox and industrial fans blowing around the rugs and the couches.
There's one we're talking about today, and the guy that murdered the guy just washed the one area.
Yeah.
So it's completely filthy except for the one. So the cops come over to
where the blood stain was.
A body. The outline of a body's been washed. That's it. They're never good. They're never good.
Oh.
Yeah.
So just so I can be clear of this, she's fancy. Brian understands the reference.
Okay, let's get
She's fancy from the Reba McEntire song.
Right.
She wants to be lifted out of her station.
She wants to
this sugar daddy guy who's not the best looking guy in town.
He's your one chance fancy.
But there's guy that isn't good looking that has got something going on.
Yeah.
But this guy's not got anything going on as well as you can tell. It's just. It doesn't make sense.
Well, her name was Crystal Metheny or
those
whatever.
Are the
Crystal
most
Metheny? Crystal, not Crystal Metheny.
Those are the most memorable couples you meet. It's not the good-looking couples or the ugly couples. It's when the couples that have like more than like 6.5 points between them. And those are the ones that always stand out. By the way, the ones that'll sear in your soul is the good-looking fit dude with the non-good-looking fit chick.
That's where you think the murder's going to happen. You're just like, he's got to move on now. He's got too much testosterone. He can't be with this at all. She's just bringing him down.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Max Back. Am I making this place up?
I don't think you're making it up, but I can't find it on the internet.
That's so weird. It must have closed
They redid it.
I heard
they rebuilt it. They rebuilt it down
it.
the street, but it's in that same mall, but they added onto that mall.
Uh-huh.
And now it looks like an improv.
I'll tell you, the husband who really needs to kill their wife is the one who spent $1 million on the ivy motif inside of that fucking club, because that was the story. The owner
It was
or the
insane.
manager just said somebody's crazy wife had this crazy idea about opening this huge restaurant with all this amazing stuff in it.
And I think they had done another one where it was a pyramid, but it was Egyptian inside, but it was also a magic club.
Is it fries?
Oh, yeah,
Fries
right.
electronics?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. No, but it was on the other side of Houston. Yeah.
It's incomprehensible to me that there's not 1,000 pictures of this on the internet, because it was so bizarre and unusual.
Isn't it weird that as comedians that just none of us didn't just get together and question it? Should we be doing that? It's just, we're just like, all right.
Well, they never give you the. First off, you realize that when people are telling me shit I'm going to do that's further out than 3 weeks, I'm always sort of half listening,
Yes, yes.
until they go, you're going to be ripped from your lavish estate in Mexico and put on a Southwest flight and shoved to the corners of the earth,
you
and
must
then
have been furious.
driven by a crazy promoter, and then repeatedly raped in the green room. And you're like, okay, all right. When are we doing this? It's in 26 days. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. And then it's always that same thing where like you're walking to the plane going, where? Oh no, you're outside. You're sitting outside the plane. I am? Yeah, we told you. Like I didn't agree to, you agreed to all of this.
I love when they tell you that you agreed to all of this. Well, I trust you with my career because I think you would help me out so I wouldn't have to think that far in advance and say no to it, right?
Right.
Mike August should not be trusted with anything.
Grab that.
No, we had a 5 a.m. meet and greet with some of the heavy hitters in the lobby of the hotel the night after the midnight show. And they're like, when is this on the calendar? Oh, it's been on the calendar. It's on the calendar. By the way, that's fucking calendar, man. It's on the calendar.
And then if you blank something out though, if you put I need this date to myself, they don't see that on the calendar.
No,
They never see that on the calendar.
I remember this. I remember very well. I also remember the sad. Everyone thinks like maybe an old car or a cheap car is sad, but the saddest is the promoter had a really nice BMW 7 Series that he had bought 19 years ago. He bought 19 years ago.
When things were going well.
Yeah, there's something sad about the luxury vehicle that is way the fuck past its time.
Yes.
And that's what we drove.
Was it that
from,
guy that said
Addison
cha-cha
to-
a lot? Hey, cha-cha, cha-cha.
Probably. I've tried to through therapy. I block the whole thing out of
My favorite part
brain.
about comedy clubs is there's some comedy clubs that have great managers, and then there were comedy clubs, a lot of them, that just happen to have the waitress that was a waitress last week is now the manager. Like they just go through them, and then they get mad at them. How did you not know how to run a club?
I would look at a coffee table book that just entitled "Green Room Sofa."
Oh, yeah.
Because
Intriguing.
nobody has
season
ever
things.
made this proclamation.
Is that theaters included?
We have a green room in our comedy club. We must go out and purchase a sofa. Oh no, that sofa is the product of divorce. We had a sectional and the whole thing's not going to fit. But if we did 3 parts of the sectional, we could shove it into this thing. And it's always the craziest, like, it doesn't fit, doesn't work. You sit in it, your ass touches the floor. Like, who's been doing what on this
try to
sofa?
stay out
It
of
is
green rooms.
Yeah.
it's never a sofa that would work in that room. As a matter of fact, the rooms are way too small for a sofa. They just shove
it
a
in.
sofa in there every time.
They're just extra rooms that they had that they turn into a green room. They take out the sink that used to clean mops.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, I just got back from one of those.
I just Googled every combination of words, and I can't find anything. I looked on Yelp.
is
I looked on
so-
TripAdvisor.
Wow, that's so weird. It was Houston.
one.
Was it? But we're sure it was an improv.
It was absolutely an improv.
And we know we can't be mistaking 2 rainforests.
Google Houston Improv 2008.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what happens. All right. We have an outro, by the way, for our bit that everyone is acutely aware of here, except for the guy who pushes the button. Well, not on you.
That was Ian Bagg's body bag.
I like it.
All right. I think we are under some sort of contractually obliged to play the intro and the outro. It's like outro, intro, outro.
Well, it's a debut of a segment.
All right. Well, tell Brian next time.
You guys, I think you might be suffering from the Mandela effect because there's nothing on here, no images.
This is bizarre.
I'm gonna find it and send it in.
I'll buy you 60 seconds telling everyone about Tommy John this summer. Soak up the sun, not the sweat. Tommy John. It is cool cotton fabric, 2 to 3 times cooler than regular cotton. Get a pair of new Tommy John underwear and let the buns breathe. This stuff is so good. It's so light. Dawson did the thing in Texas where he wore it in the swimming pool at 4 in the morning or something, then just hung it out and just put it on the next day.
Yep.
I do that all the time. And even if you go out for a long jog or hike or something, you work up a little lather, you just wear them around and they'll just dry on you. Dozens of comfort innovations, breathable, lightweight, moisture-wicking fabric, 4 times the stretch of competing brands. You'll never go back to what you're wearing once you hit Tommy John. It's the best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free. Guarantee. Right, Dawson?
Right now, get 20% off your first order at TommyJohn.com/Adam. Go to TommyJohn.com/Adam for 20% off. TommyJohn.com/Adam. See site for details.
I guess Ian and I should have taken pictures when we were there at the Houston Improv.
Yeah.
all
I think it
those
would have been
years
flip
ago.
phones.
Probably. But also, it's like, I'm sure the people that liberated Auschwitz didn't take a lot of pictures, because they were so appalled at
Right.
what was going on
Right, same
around
thing.
I couldn't believe this devastation, that they were so traumatized.
I'm not even touching it.
Nope. All right, we got the. We'll continue the quest. We got the news. We'll take a break. We'll do the news right after this.
Give me the news with Grad, news with Gina Grad, breaking viral, weird crime, protest, politics. Give me news with Gina Grad, stuff they saw on TMZ, Joe Biden, Kamala. Meet news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, since Ian's here and we're talking little murder mysteries, I'm happy to say CNN reports that a convicted serial killer known as the dating game killer has died of natural causes. Early Saturday morning at a hospital near Corcoran State Prison in California. It was. Do you remember this? The dating game killer.
Yes,
I
I
have
do.
pictures of him. Just put him up whenever. Rodney James Alcala. That's. Kind of a good-looking guy on the dating game. He was 77. He's been on death row since 2010. How could that be, you ask? For a murder that a murder spree he started possibly 1979, possibly earlier. Well, I'll tell you. Alcala was first sentenced to death in 1980 for the 79 kidnapping and murder of a 12-year-old, but his conviction was reversed by the California Supreme Court. He was granted a new trial. He was sentenced to death again in 86 after a second trial, but that sentence was overturned by a federal appeals court in 2003. A third trial was granted. By the time of his third trial in 2010, Alcala's DNA had been connected to 4 other homicides, and Orange County jury convicted him of 5 counts of first-degree murder. By the way, they found suspects linked to him in 4 other states. And he did become known as the dating game killer because he was a contestant on the dating game in 78.
Suspects linked to him.
Murders linked to him.
Oh,
sorry.
murders.
Yeah, sorry.
Linked to him.
Yeah, in 4 other
First
states.
off, I just have this sort of ledger, and you're either sort of paying taxes or you're taking taxes, and I look at this. All society's just a giant ship, and you're either rowing, and some people aren't rowing that hard, other people aren't rowing at all, and then some people are just sitting out dragging their feet in the water, you know what I mean? But how much do you think this one guy cost us? You know what I mean? It's like murder, and then court, and then overturned,
appeals.
and then the appeals, and
Including the murders?
You start,
Like including the murders because of all the investigation that had to be done?
Yeah, you go like all the police work, all
Yeah.
the paperwork, all the forensic stuff. I mean, just millions and millions of dollars for one guy.
Yeah.
we should just. What is the look? Here's the deal. Like I feel the same way about. I feel the same way about murder. Ironically, I'll tie these two together. But I feel the same way about the death sentence, capital punishment, as I do about abortion. Like, I'm not, you want to do the first trimester, maybe the second, fine. If the kid's breaching, then no abortion for that. All right, seems sensible to me.
If his head's out, no.
And if you come home from the Christmas party and it's raining outside and you had a few pops and you hit the busboy who's riding the 10-speed with no reflectors across the street and you kill that guy, I don't want you put down for that. But once you start getting into abducting 12-year-olds and murdering them in the woods, then we'll go ahead and say you can be killed.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Did you ever watch the first 48? Like,
yeah.
When they give them time, sometimes it's like, well, only 15 years. Like they're guilty of murder and they only have to do 15 years. Like it doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't.
Garagos will break that down in some way.
Yes.
There's always a reason for it, even though we don't understand it or possibly agree with it. But you guys can talk all the shit on Texas you want. This wouldn't have happened in Texas.
It's called case by case.
Ooh. Right.
You know what I mean? It's like literally we'll just take it case by case. Like,
You guys can take apart a comedy club, but let me tell you, they would have murdered a murderer.
Fake rainforest idea.
I'm like, I don't know how that fits in.
When they convict and say chair time, it's inside a week? Not 42 years?
I don't know. I know Texas and Florida definitely take people down.
They got rainforest cafes to build.
I love a good. It was Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy kept pushing stuff off and kept getting delays and whatever. And at a certain point, just before it was murder day. Also, I'm in love with this individual. There was a picture of a guy out front of the prison for the Ted Bundy thing when they put him down. And it said, today is Wednesday, but it's Friday. And he spelled fry like fried bacon in a pan. Who is that guy? I'm like him arrested. Good sign. It's the middle of the week. Where you don't have a job? Like, what's going on? No. So, but my favorite part is at the very end, Ted, who was, a sociopath of the highest order, they were like, all right, well, we're going to put you in the electric chair tomorrow. And he's like, I don't think you want to do that because I know more. There's more cases and more bodies and more stuff, and I could tell you about where that is. And they're like, nah, we're good. We're just going to do this one.
Yep.
They're like, nah, we got enough.
I'm glad that he was trying to negotiate on his way to the chair. Yeah.
Smart guy.
And beautiful.
Yeah.
He was a handsome man.
Is he the one that Zac Efron played in the movie?
Oh, yeah.
There was
I think.
Yeah, I
And
do
also,
like our societal conceit, which is he was good looking. He didn't have to murder. Well, using that logic, then all the pigs would have to murder. You know what I mean?
It'd be so much easier if we could just pick people out by the way they look.
Danny
right?
DeVito would be leading law enforcement on a
Public enemy
tri-state. It's like every guy was under a 4 would have to kill.
You wake up and Steve Buscemi's over you with a knife.
Right, it's probably good because
Opie's brother.
Clint Howard the body count would be through the fucking roof.
You're so gentle as a boy.
It's just weird that he's not cast in every murder show. You're just like, how is he not getting every? Okay, anyways.
Clint, yeah. Sorry.
So this is this may be an interesting conundrum. Not sure. So Chicago Mayor Laurie Lightfoot is standing her ground on her decision to only speak to non-white reporters. But she's not apologizing, and she's certainly not trying to undo her words. Fox News reports that she said on the Sway podcast that the number of journalists of color covering her was unacceptable, and she declared she'd make the same decision again if she had to because of the conversation that it spurred. As a refresher on this story, Lightfoot announced earlier this year that she'd only grant one-on-one interviews to black and brown reporters upon the 2-year anniversary of her taking office, scolding the Chicago media for its overwhelming whiteness. The host of the Sway podcast agreed on the diversity, but had an issue with her choosing who's allowed to cover her. Meanwhile, there's a guy named Gregory Pratt. He's a Latino journalist in Chicago, and he tweeted when this all happened, "I'm a Latino reporter whose interview request was granted for today. However, I asked the mayor's office to lift its conditions on others, and when they said no, we respectfully canceled. Politicians don't get to choose who covers them."
She is one of the angriest, weirdest people in public life. Her she is so
Like Cosby
fucked
eyes.
up. She is so like crazed and weird and angry, and zero reverse gear. Like can't walk anything back. Can't do the mea culpa.
Full
Can't
steam
do
ahead.
any of it. It's just fucking steamrolls over everything.
I had high hopes for her. She's like a really strong. She seemed like really strong, cool leader. She had ties with the police. You know, she seemed like she was going to be the one.
Yeah. Well, I don't know when her term is coming up, but
What do you think it went off the rails for her? When she got the power or before she got the power?
The haircut.
The haircut.
Yeah.
No, because she was saying, you know, she's allowed to get haircuts, no one else is. But then I think she backed down on that too. But she seemed
No,
really...
she didn't. She just said, you know, she had
during the
someone-
pandemic?
Yeah,
She said,
had some
I have
kinda-
to look good. But then she said something else weird, right?
Her weird statement. This is the part I always marvel at. I marvel at the things that are said that don't need to be said. Her weird statement when she was kind of caught because she's closing down all the salons, but she got her hair done, which, you know, everyone's going to do. Her first statement was, you know, I'm a public person. And I was like, okay. And then her next one is she went, and hygiene's really important to me. It's like,
Not the rest of you plebes in Chicago.
She get a bath while she's there too?
you didn't need to tack that one
Yeah.
on. You just go, listen, I do a lot of press conferences. I'm kind of the face of the city, and sorry if it seems hypocritical, but
It'd be great if
it's
somebody
important for
wrote a
morale.
book on how filthy she was. She never bathed before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Very let them eat cake. So we'll see what happens with that. New COVID
But
rules.
also,
Yeah.
I don't, whose fault is it that there's not more black journalists? Like, there's this insane thing that everyone is equally attracted to professions. Like, I travel through LAX all the time. I see tons of LAX TSA people. Not a lot of Jews in that mix.
Oh.
Light on the Asians. Just doesn't seem to be their thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's just different groups are into different stuff. I don't know why we need the full equity, but it also, the racist part of this whole fucking component is it suggests that the Hispanic guy couldn't cover your news because he's not black. You know what I mean? Like, the scariest part of this whole situation that we're in is like, well, you need a black police chief to understand black people or to interview black people, or like, a reporter's a good
Right.
reporter can just be a reporter. Can just talk to her about her policy or do a piece on her or whatever it is. You don't have to be
Right.
that person.
Well, just to clarify, just maybe I
And by the way, no one is her.
What do you mean?
She's crazy. Like, she's not going to find any simpatico.
Well,
Right.
Her
It
doppelganger,
transcends race.
her doppelganger does not exist in the wild. There's nobody who's like her who
Right.
should interview her.
She wants equal.
Just for clarity, this Latino reporter was allowed to do a one-on-one
was.
because
Yeah.
he's black and
He
brown.
took
But he said,
himself out.
"Are you
Oh, he
going
pulled
to
himself
open
out.
this to everybody?"
right.
And he said, "Then you don't get to pick who covers you."
And now he's a hero to the white reporter.
That's right.
Right.
He's been the boot's been on him long enough. That poor guy. The NFL sent out a memo that could affect the 2021 season in a big way. The league lets the teams know that they would have to forfeit games and accept a loss if there is a coronavirus outbreak among unvaccinated players.
And
Last
if
year,
they can't reschedule the game, which
Right.
that's the first option.
instead
but
of
if it-
scrambling to
if it can't be done, they're going to.
They can't find a field.
So last year, the NFL shuffled games, like you said, to keep things rolling. This year, it seems like there'll be no shuffling. Any game that doesn't get played because of coronavirus will also lead to players on both teams not getting their game checks.
Who's the most, I think, the wideout, God damn it, for Houston
You're talking
Texans.
about Cole Beasley.
No, not Beasley.
Oh, you know about DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah,
he
I
was
think-
on the Texans. Now he's on the Cardinals.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Now he wants to
he's
retire.
a pretty famous. I think he's a famous vaccine
He's a top-
holdout.
Oh yeah. He didn't.
There's the
He
coach.
tweeted something on the lines of like, "This is making me rethink my, blah 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 blah." blah.
There's the coach. I think the line coach for the Vikings
Yes,
quit.
yes,
Someone
or
just
they
got-
didn't
someone
renew
just
him or
departed,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
I heard he quit, but
Oh,
I
was
don't
that
know.
it?
Well, they said you got to get vaccinated,
Right.
and he said, I quit. Or that was the story. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, they parted ways. It's strange for a coach to quit during OTAs. That's very, very, very rare. But yes, they parted ways.
DeAndre Hopkins
But he
tweeted
didn't
this.
quit? Or what was it?
There's no official. No one knows. Perhaps it was a mutual, departure. But I'm saying that it's rare for a coach to quit during OTAs.
Football players.
No, it
are
is,
not
but
known for putting
not
things
if
in
you
the
say
body.
you have to get a vaccine and then the guy
Sure.
goes, I quit.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know, maybe we can find that story, Max Pat. It was a line
All I
coach.
saw was Schefter report like he left. So-and-so leaves the team. So I don't know.
They could
I
use
don't
it
know
as a
what
great
that
thing to clean up how many coaches they need because I think they're overcoached. just start laying
More coaches
people
than
off.
players.
Yeah. I heard you didn't want to get the vaccine. I got the vaccine. No, you didn't. Get out of here.
You're out. DeAndre Hopkins tweeted, "Never thought I would say this, but being put in a position to hurt my team because I don't want to partake in the vaccine is making me question my future in the NFL."
Well, there's one solution.
Rick Dennison was the guy, was the line coach.
Never trusted him.
But now I need to know. Anyway,
How they did
go
that.
ahead.
Angelina Jolie has scored a major legal victory in this custody battle with Brad Pitt that
I don't feel like
will not
she's
end.
still going
I don't
on.
feel
Yes.
like she could be vaccinated with a regulation syringe. I feel like it would come out the other side of her
like
arm.
Mr. Burns, it will go straight through.
Yeah, I feel like
She
we,
needs a butterfly needle.
Well, do they have like a junior one
They
for
do.
the kids?
They do. It's called a butterfly needle or baby needle.
Pansy.
I
Yeah.
feel like she needs that one.
Yeah,
There's
I
just
think
not
you're
enough
right.
meat on those bones.
Yeah, you're right. It would go right through. She demanded that the judge in the case be removed because of a conflict of interest. She got her wish. The California Court of Appeal has ruled that Judge John Outerkirk is out, according to Us Magazine. The removal means that the custody agreement could be tossed and the proceedings could start over. This has been going on for 5 years, and the kids are now 13
Only
to 19
5?
years old.
I would imagine much longer than that.
13 to
That's
19?
crazy.
Yes. So if they start over, who cares? They're all adults. Brad has been granted joint custody of the 6 kids despite Angie's objection.
Ooh, Angie.
The source had once said she will never forgive him. She maintains it's far from over and still believes that justice will prevail.
Yeah, you got to watch out for the hot chicks that hate their dads.
Oh, very publicly.
Yeah,
in
that's
this
a
case.
problem.
And that little vial of blood around her neck that she used to
Yeah.
wear. That's you're going to have divorce problems with that one for
Yeah.
sure. That's like she's not
Yeah,
gonna be good.
Billy
Yeah.
Bob dodged a bullet
Yeah.
So good.
there.
So good.
Yeah.
Why was he kicked off though? Why did she want the judge kicked off?
I don't know. There was some sort of, the lawyer decided there was some sort of conflict of interest between something he had, overseen with Brad Pitt or something.
He
They found a way
tweeted
to
how
get
much
this.
he loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Right.
So you can't be impartial.
They weren't a fan of this judge and they got him removed.
Really?
Yeah, but it took a whole lot of years. So
good
good luck
for
to the
her,
happy
just
couple.
I can't
Spending
figure
money.
her out. Like, is she the world's greatest humanitarian or just like
Yes.
batshit crazy
She's
and
an
vindictive?
ambassador. Well, she could be
Two
that
things
way
could
to
be
the,
true.
Yeah, to the masses and then different in the relationship for sure.
I feel like, I don't know Brad Pitt, but I feel like we've all signed off that he,
Oh, yeah.
he likes architecture, he smokes a lot of spleef, and seems pretty
Yeah.
chillax dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
From Missouri.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a Midwesterner.
I don't know. From the Ozarks? Don't trust him.
Close, actually. I
Really?
think that,
Yeah.
him and Melissa Etheridge, and there's a whole team that's from there.
There's a whole suburban coming from the.
That's right.
I got that thing going, but with North Hollywood.
What do you mean?
You and the North Hollywood crew?
Me, just Christy Canyon,
Oh, yeah.
Eric Kramer.
the Eric Kramer. Yeah, I mean,
The
we
list
got
goes
our
on.
own. We got our own clique.
And
you know
on.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Quite the
sure.
cul-de-sac.
We network. You know what I mean?
Christy Canyon. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. Old friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
man.
North Hollywood girl.
Oh, yeah.
Trejo.
This is awesome.
All the greats.
All the greats.
Trejo.
Trejo.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Pacoima, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard an interview with Bryan Cranston.
Oh,
He's from
Cranston.
Canoga
it's
Park, right?
Chatsworth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's getting up there now.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
now
it is.
we've
Strangling
all
us to
raised
North
the bar.
Hollywood. Yeah.
That's right.
Thank you.
Okay. Jonathan Lipnicki. Does that name sound
Yeah.
familiar?
Giant head.
Yes. Brian, tell us
From
who it
Jerry
is.
Maguire.
Yeah. The former child
kid, the
star,
child
yeah,
star,
the
yeah.
little one, has joined a group of martial artists in L.A. to protect Orthodox Jews on Shabbat as they walk to and from synagogue. So he was in Jerry Maguire.
He was excellent in Jerry Maguire. He was legit good. He put a good performance.
Yeah, and he's now a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's trying to combat incidents like, what happened at the sushi restaurant in West LA where a group of men attacked a group of Jewish diners. A rabbi almost got run over at a synagogue. A little kid got shot with paintballs. A little out of control. And here's what Jonathan, who I think is standing out front of a synagogue when this was recorded, I think, by TMZ, here's what he thinks his presence does.
Bullies of any sort or people who, promote hatred don't like when there's a presence there. And I think having a presence is a huge deterrent, and I'm glad that people's eyes have been open about the Asian community. I think there are a lot of communities that don't get enough support. The Armenian community, for one. I think that if you don't stand against all hate, you don't stand against any.
Good for him.
You cannot, nobody, does people attack the Armenian community?
I was curious about that.
Those guys, they wear so much fucking cologne that there's an actual force field that you can't, between the cigarette smoke and the cologne, you get within 12 feet of them, your eyes start burning.
You can try to swim through it, but good luck.
They have their own cloud of pepper spray they walk around in, like Linus or Pigpen. Like, you can't get here. Now, another Armenian who, of course, is immune to this.
He could
penetrate the bubble, but no.
Used car dealership versus used car dealership could go ahead.
Right. But your average street thug, you can't get near an Armenian. No chance.
He looks more like the kid from Arrested Development than he does himself.
Michael Cera?
Right? Yeah.
Kinda, yeah.
Looks like a good-looking version of him.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Good on him.
Yeah,
Good for him.
He's trying to protect the Orthodox.
Let's do one more,
All
Gina
right.
Brand.
Let's see here. Let's find you a good one. Oh, here we go. Let this be a warning to every man in this studio.
Thanks for looking at me.
Every man listening to this right now. A man in Japan has nearly died after suffering a stroke moments after ejaculating while masturbating. Metro.com reports that the unidentified 51-year-old suffered thunderclap headaches and began vomiting, was rushed to the hospital. Doctors said the man, who was single, masturbated several times a day and began to feel very ill very quickly, had to go to the hospital. He was disoriented, had low blood pressure. His medics recognized these were symptoms of a stroke. A man spent... How
do we know he was beating off?
I feel like he maybe made that known several times a day. They had to ask.
But when, if I ever have a stroke beating off and the paramedics show up, like, what happened?
Mr. Carolla, what are you doing?
Gardening.
What happened?
Should we push pause on this?
Why are your pants around your ankles if you were gardening?
Hey, you garden how you want to garden. I'll garden how I want to garden, all right? But I was gardening.
He's got a green thumb.
Yeah.
They probably, one of the questions is probably, were you engaged in sexual activity? Because you could have a heart attack. I'm just guessing. But he could have said, yeah.
Oh, is that how we talked?
It's possible. The report goes on to say that strokes can be triggered by this kind of physical exertion.
Strokes can be triggered by strokes.
But also result from something as innocuous as coughing or going to the bathroom. So
good luck, everyone.
Done doing that.
I coughed while I was gardening. Now just write that in your fucking report and let's
Pull my
get on
pants
with
up
it.
and let's go.
What are thunderclap headaches?
Oh, I don't know. I don't want one.
That's a great name for a wrestler.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be the best. Yeah. Didn't Neil Young play with Thunderclap and
Crazy Horse?
And Crazy Horse.
An old blues singer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What culture do you think masturbates not the most, but at the highest RPM?
Almost vigorously.
Yeah, I got Japan
have much
toward
time?
the top of my list.
Interesting.
I got parts of Africa and Mexico down at a lower clip. Oh, you know what I mean?
I see.
In the
You
afternoon.
Canadians, you're all right. You're somewhere in the middle.
Ooh. I'm thinking like a cold culture, you know what I mean? Get it in, get it out.
Yeah.
Because it's freezing. You don't expose yourself.
The more work you do, like North Koreans get it done quick because they have to get back.
That's
to
true.
work
You're under the gun. No
before,
Yeah.
before the leader sees them.
right.
Look that up, Chris.
Dear leader.
Well, find me if that Viking coach quit or if he just walked off. And then find me which culture masturbates.
Most vigorously.
Most frequently, highest RPM.
Highest RPM.
All right. I'll
Okay.
add that to the list.
Good enough.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a studious culture. You know, like somebody that's, like if you get really high grades, you want to get something done quicker. It's like an achievement.
Well, I think we have to factor
Take your
in.
time.
We have to factor in hog size.
No, I had
here.
been.
We
I was
have
ignoring.
to
I know.
We have to factor it in.
I know.
because it's anyone who works with engines knows there's a bore and a stroke, and the longer the stroke,
it's a very small piston,
lower RPM situation over there. That's
right when you mentioned the countries that don't, I picked up what you're putting down.
Yeah, but I don't think of Mexico as a big dong culture. I just find them like a little more laid back. You know?
You also have to factor in the oppressiveness of the oppressive nature of a country, and I think that would put North Korea in there because you got to get it out quick.
Yeah, that's what Ian said. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Rick Dennison, the coach, is not officially out yet.
Yeah, I mean he hasn't made it official, but a lot of sources are saying that he will be leaving. And then Cole Popovich of the Patriots, offensive line coach, he's leaving because of the COVID-19 requirement.
But Rick Dennison said, "I'm not getting vaccinated," so the writing's on the wall. Is that what the story looks like?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's just saying that they're in talks, but there's no official word yet.
Wow.
All right. Should we bring it home, Gina Grad?
Let's do it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Cow blood soup.
Gina Grad.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
All right. Middle but not least, J.B. Weld. J.B. Weld, world's strongest bond. Pros have trusted it for over 50 years. But why hire a pro when you can work like a pro with J.B. Weld? We're proud to have J.B. Weld Epoxy Adhesive on as a sponsor. I personally know the owner, hung out with these guys in SEMA a few years back in Vegas. Gina just took some of my J.B. Weld stash, doing a little work in her place. What are you working on?
I used JB Weld, which I purchased myself because I knew it was a good product back when our dining room chair pads were coming loose, and I fixed it, no problem, beautiful. Well, now there's another dining room chair pad coming loose, and I need to do it again.
Well, I fixed Sonny's tennis shoe with some JB Weld. I fixed some stonework in front of my house with JB Weld, and I fixed Natalia's weird freezy roller thing.
The cold roller.
I will not commit to memory. JB Weld also acquired a Herculiner, the original DIY truck bed liner. So if you're looking for the world's strongest bond, you go JB Weld, right, Dawson?
JB Weld is available at jbweld.com, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, AutoZone, Advance Auto Parts, Napa, O'Reilly, Amazon, Michaels, and more. And remember, JB Weld epoxy products are proudly made in the USA. JB Weld, world's strongest bond.
All right. Plug for Ian Bagg, Sword and Scale Rewind, official after show of the True Crime podcast, Sword and Scale. And co-hosted with our own Matt the Porcelain Punisher Fondelier. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. And ianbagg.com is the website. Go there and find out when he's going to be at the Houston Improv. Jesse Waters coming in next. We'll take a quick break. Be right back after this.
It's time for Nicaraguan Name That Movie with Adam's buddy Oswaldo. See if you can guess which movie this famous line is from.
Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
If you said Oliver Stone's JFK.
Back and to the left. Back and to the left.
You're correct. Now, back to the show.
Jesse Waters has joined us. He has a new book out called How I Saved the World. It's available now on Amazon. Debuted at #1 New York Times nonfiction bestseller list. Also, many jobs on Fox Waters World Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, and then also the 5. And so much more. You can you can send him a tweet at Jesse B. Waters. Good to see you again, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, Adam.
I've noticed, I think, through listening to you doing a lot of interviews and doing a lot of on-air stuff, I feel like you're getting funnier as you grow older. Now, I know you always did comedy or always pursued it and doing all the hits on O'Reilly and everything like that, but seem to have refined it a little bit better or come into your own or found the point of view or something, because you're really consistently funny when I'm catching you on these radio spots, especially.
Thank you so much. And I was never funny with O'Reilly. He actually had to have a producer make me funny. So when we would do these Waters World packages, we would insert movie clips because I wasn't funny enough. So if you're familiar with the Waters World Street interviews, we'd always have a movie clip that we'd throw in there. And I think we could probably sink News Corp if we're ever sued by all of these Hollywood studios, because I think we used a lot of those clips illegally.
So you and I think, share something in common, which is we have very liberal moms. And I don't know whose mom is more liberal, your mom or my mom, but maybe we should try to get to the bottom of it.
Well, I just heard what your mother's major was. And I think just that alone was it Chicano studies.
Chicano studies. Now, keep in mind, my mom looks like Tom Petty's albino sister. Okay. So if it'd be one thing if she had a little Latin flavor working for her.
No Latin flavor. Yeah, no. My mom actually told me I was part Native American growing up because she was very tan. And then when we had our DNA test done for the 5, I am 99.9% European, 0.1% sub-Saharan African. So I'm actually more black than Liz Warren is Native American. But that was some folklore in my family. But my mom was an English major, so I think you have me beat in terms of the academics.
Yeah, now, I was talking at the beginning of the show how Pop Warner football, Pee Wee football saved my life, and I was so important to me, and my son, who's now 15, has no interest in it whatsoever at all. So then you try to figure out, like, how does it work with the parent and the child? Are you pushing against your mom and her influence on you? Many people just echo the same sentiments of their parents, politically or spiritually or beyond. Others, you hear the Mormon kid who is now got all the aggressive piercings and tattoos and is filming themselves and putting them up on TikTok doing a bunch of shit that would piss their parents off. Like, do you feel like you were pushing against your parents or your structure? Or for me, I was just looking at them going, this doesn't work. Whatever you're doing is not working. I'm thinking about a different mindset.
Part of it was rebellion against my parents. And I just remember being drunk one night in college and woke up and C-SPAN happened to be on the TV. And I started thinking to myself, well, the Republican senators are pretty much saying exactly what the founders had said. Limited government, personal responsibility. And then the next day I listened to Rush Limbaugh. And that was it. I became a Rush baby and would make my parents listen to Limbaugh on long car rides at age 17, 18, 19, just like that. And it drove my parents crazy. Like, it literally drove my mom crazy. I think one time I rear-ended a car nearly during a welfare reform monologue. And I thought to myself, well, if Limbaugh is making my mom this nuts, he must be doing something right. And that's kind of what got me into it.
Now, how does your dad land in all this?
Well, my dad is more of a what you consider moderate Democrat. But my mother was radicalized once Trump became president and joined the resistance and then dragged my father to the Women's March and made him take pictures of her. And
this is, I always laugh because I interviewed James Brolin once. I'll make it fast because people have heard the story. But James Brolin is married to Barbara Streisand, and they live in Malibu. And James Brolin showed up to this studio in his Ford Raptor, which is essentially a desert trophy truck, street legal trophy truck. And he made sure to point out to me that he got the previous year, because that had the V8 in it. He didn't want the V6 turbo in it. And I thought, man, if Barbara Streisand can't get her husband over to the Green New Deal, like he's doing donuts in a parking lot somewhere right now in his Raptor, like if she can't get him, how's this even gonna work? And it's also a crazy dynamic. Like, I don't know if they argue about it. I don't know if he leaves in a Prius and then parks it by the side of the road and climbs into the Raptor. I don't know how it works, but how does it work with your parents?
Well, so they're both on the left, so that's that. But then when I enter the picture, I have cleared out the Thanksgiving table on a number of occasions. During the Obama years, it was rough. Sometimes I was just the last one at the dinner table, just there with my drink. Everybody had left because, after a few cocktails, you get a little sensitive. And it was like that during the Iraq War, the Obama administration, and it's my sister is also a lib, and her husband worked for Barack Obama and now currently works for Joe Biden. So I've found it better just to not talk about it, because the minute they bring it up, I kind of get my back up against the wall, and I feel responsible for defending everything on the conservative playing field, and sometimes I fly off the handle.
What did you, so where did you grow up, and what did you think the plan was when you were, I don't know, in the 9th grade?
Well, I grew up in Philly, and, not North Philly, but in a nicer area of Philly. But, diverse neighborhood and, sports town, and played a lot of sports. And in 9th grade, I was just into girls and probably getting high and, just trying to survive high school. And then my father moved us to Long Island, to the north shore of Long Island, which they call the Gold Coast. A lot of money. So I had to fit in there. And my dad just wanted me to have a job. And I think my mom just now, even though I have the #1 book, she's just happy that I have health insurance. Yeah. It's really just, Jesse, don't get fired. Jesse, don't spend any money. Please don't embarrass the family.
Well, you probably could say yes to 2 out of those 3, but the family, because, I've noticed with many liberals, and I grew up with this, which is they sort of try to pass them. Now, I'm not, I should say leftist, because I always try to make that distinction. I talk to Dennis Prager about this all the time. Like, I'm starting to notice a chasm between liberal and left. I would consider myself liberal on many, many subjects, but I don't ever consider myself left, because I think they've just gone off the reservation, and they would probably not want me to even use that reference anymore. But they do this kind of live and let live and sort of peace and love kind of thing, but most of them are vindictive assholes.
Yes.
I mean, I work in Hollywood. They never stop bitching about McCarthyism. They're all down with canceling everybody who disagrees with any of their many kooky thoughts. They're completely 100% for that. So your parents are not, they must not be able to lead a normal life.
Well, I don't want to make my mom sound like she's in Antifa. She's not throwing Molotov cocktails at anybody, but she will get hostile. And that's what I've noticed a lot of people, when I used to go out on the street, I had to stop doing those man on the street interviews when Trump became president because of the anger. And I would go out there with the Fox News microphone flag, and people would just beeline for it and then just call me Hitler and scream Nazi and then interfere with the shoot. So I wasn't even able to film interviews because they'd be, grabbing the audio equipment and screaming in the background. And we had to take a little hiatus on that, and now we're starting to bring it back. But as you said, there's so much anger and venom and hostility to a culture that usually brands itself as kumbaya. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, there's a famous image that predates you, but, well, actually probably predates me a little bit too, but you'd be familiar with it. And I bought into this for a long time, which is you have the National Guardsmen in full uniform holding the rifle, and then you have the hippie chick putting the flour into the barrel of the rifle.
That was my mom, by the way.
and that is kind of the image that we all had. Like, one side's got a gun and is militant, and the other side is wearing, a hemp headband that they knitted that day and is placing a daisy of peace, into the barrel of the gun. And I was like, but it turns out the daisy side are the super fucking angry side, which is also weird sort of empirically. I have many friends that are on the left and many friends that are on the right. I grew up thinking that every Republican, everyone on the right, and every rich person was angry and evil. And what I've noticed from, the aforementioned, Dennis Pragers of the world, these guys are sort of relaxed and jovial, and like have a decent sense of humor and sort of sometimes even a corny sense of humor and like sort of up for a good time. Like they don't seem pent up and seething and angry. And it's the leftist college professor chicks who seem to be the most angry people on the planet. I don't think it's a coincidence.
I've noticed that, and it's an emotional issue that I've found interviewing these people throughout the land, that it's born from hatred. And if you are insecure with yourself or if your life lacks meaning, you have a lot of hatred. And what the media will do, and people in the left in power, they'll kind of mobilize that hatred and turn you into, you could consider it a revolutionary, where everything has to go, right? The founders, they have to go. The statues have to come down. Everyone has to be canceled. And you kind of mobilizing this militant attitude where it's just bent on destruction. And they're not listening. And they're not even debating the substance of it. They're just screaming racist in order to destroy everything in their path.
I am stupefied at how many people just buy into we're racist nation. Like, I don't know if they all fear for their jobs. I don't know if their mind has been liquefied by the news, or I don't know, or it's just standard mob mentality or fear. But I've said my entire life that I've had a microphone, we're not a racist nation. Like, what are you guys doing? Why are we all buying into this theme? And how is it you're helping the people who were racist against, allegedly?
Well, that's the thing. They're not trying to help them at all.
They're hurting them.
They're actually hurting them. You guys just were talking about what's happening in Chicago. It's a bloodbath there, and there's no attempt to rectify any of the violence there. But they've realized now that race is the most potent weapon they have.
Yes.
And it cuts sharply because it's such a horrible thing to be called. It instills fear. So when someone's scared of been called a racist,
right,
they'll freeze and they'll do anything, and they'll submit to anything as long as they're not branded racist.
It just dawned on me that leftist politicians have figured out race like shitty restaurants figured out bacon. They're like, nobody likes our salad. Nobody likes our... Right. Start putting bacon on everything.
On everything.
Put it on fucking potatoes. Put it on corn. Which put bacon on everything, and we'll have a line going around the block. And yes, the leftists and leftist politicians have figured out that if we just infuse race into everything, then we can win every debate, because we won't even have a debate about the subject we're debating. We'll be debating race.
It's lazy, but it's cheap because it works, and they don't actually have to dig into the details. And I think this country just has to tell people to knock it off. You're a dad. Just say, sometimes as a father, the most powerful thing is no. Right. You don't always have to cave, because the mob, after 48 hours, they'll just move on to a softer spot. That's all they're doing. They're just looking for soft spots to penetrate and score victories. But if this country just stands up and says, no, we're not going to change the name of the Cleveland Indians. You know, everyone likes the name. We're just not going to change it.
Well, it also... I mean, I've always been saying this, but it's called a progressive movement. It's got the word movement and it's got the word progress in it. It's not stopping. No. That's the whole thing. The whole deal is we're just going to appease these people. Like, all right, change the name of the Cleveland Indians so we can get on with our lives. Right. Oh, you shall not get on with your life. We're going right on to the next thing, to the point where most of the stuff, if you used to, in this country, to go, if you told our founding fathers this, they'd never believe it. Or if you went back and told my grandfather, when he was still alive, X, Y, and Z, he wouldn't believe the country we're living in. Or if you went back 50 years, and you can go back 26 months in this country's history, go way back to March of 2019. And try to pitch some of the shit that's coming out of AOC's mouth to someone from 2 years ago. They'd go, this is nonsense. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
We used to, on The Factor at Fox, do these stories, these cultural war stories And if you were to tell Bill, 10 years ago, they were doing transgender story time to kindergarteners.
Right.
Or they were, the phrase off the reservation could get someone fired.
Right.
As you just said, you would never believe it. But this country has moved so fast, and it's because of social media.
Right.
And social media gets these people on the left believing that everyone's on their side, when it's just a very, very small fraction of the population. But they feed into that echo chamber, and they think, yeah, everyone believes the Earth's going to end in 12 years because of global warming. Everyone is offended by the phrase, you name it. But that's not the case. And the people that are actually least politically correct, they did a study on this, Native Americans, African Americans, and Hispanic Americans. They don't have any use for political correctness. The people that are really obsessed with it are white, atheist, college-educated women.
Well,
that's what it is.
Yes. Well, political correctness, the same group who doesn't give a shit about political correctness also has the least gluten allergies, because this is a fucking luxury. It's
right.
a luxury to wring your hands over a baseball team's logo
right.
or mascot. That means you don't have real
Their
problems.
lives have nothing going on. If really that's the biggest problem in your life, a logo,
right.
then you have nothing going on. And a lot of these people are just bored.
Everything's rushing into my brain at once. First off, I remember watching this 60-minute expose. It's been 10, 13 years or whatever. They were talking about feeding impoverished kids in Africa and the villages, and I'm sure you guys can picture what I'm talking about. Somebody invented a product that would, with all the nutrients that these kids needed. It was called Plumpy Nut. It's a weird name.
Plumpy Nut.
It came in a little Mylar packet or whatever. It was peanut butter, powdered milk, and maybe some sugar. I can't remember. And they'd get, and the kids would get all the nutrition. It was a way to bring the village back to life. And the 60 Minutes reporter said to the Plumpy Nut guy, the guy was there handing it out, and they were interviewing that guy and everything. And they said to the guy, she said to him, because she's from Manhattan and she's white, and she was like, well, what about peanut allergies? and the guy just looked at her and went yeah, we don't have time for that shit here. These people are dying.
You should have Plumpy Nut here, because I went in to grab a bite to eat from your fridge. Adam has no fruit, no vegetables, nothing healthy at all. You have nuts, you have string cheese.
And jerky,
and
probably.
You have jerky. You might as well just have salt packets outside.
When is Plumpy Nut still around?
I think we have to get Plumpy Nut in the studio.
See if they can sponsor this segment. So the other thing I was thinking about, which is, I'm with you in sort of I learned all this from my mom. Her thing was just sort of, rich people don't pay taxes, and somebody should do something about everything. And if you ever asked her, what are your plans or what are your solutions? And my mom, who didn't pay taxes, by the way, of course,
right.
She had a lot of suggestions for the folks who were paying the taxes. But I stumbled upon this thing that I thought was kind of interesting when I was talking to Dr. Drew the other day. Plumpy Nut's still around, by the way, according to Chris. I was talking to Dr. Drew, and we used to watch, when I was young, there was a show called Get Smart. Get Smart was a Mel Brooks show, and I'll think of the other guy, Buck Henry and Mel Brooks. One of their very early shows, starred Don Adams, was a funny, kind of weird sitcom that was on in the 60s, and then it was syndicated and blah, blah, blah. Point is this. It was a fictitious kind of FBI agent who was a screw-up in Don Adams, and he worked for... His organization was called Control. And Control did battle with their foes, who would sort of be the KGB or whatever, but they were called Chaos. And I never thought about it. It was just a joke. They're Control and they're Chaos and stuff like that. But I was saying to Dr. Drew the other day, I said, I think AOC and Bernie Sanders are Chaos.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what their plan is. I mean, they bloviate a lot, but is there tearing down statues is chaos? It's not a plan.
It's a continuous revolution, and that's what the Marxists have always promised. So there's never paradise, right? And if you look throughout history, whenever the Marxists have taken control or started a revolution, there's no end game. The end game is always misery. So you caught up in this constant revolution where, as you said, the people that are successful have a lot going on, and they just say, okay, we'll give it to you. Okay, just shut up, right? And then 10 years later, you've given away half the playing field to these people because they have nothing else to do except trying to destroy happy people. Right. Because right now, happy people have a good life. They're happy. They're positive. They're working hard. They're successful, and they're paying taxes. And you're just having to deal with annoying people who are complaining about everything that is wrong with you, about everything that is wrong with the country. So you're having to appease them constantly. And it's just become tedious. And after a while, you have to start standing up and fighting these people and just saying no.
I agree. Chris found that 60 Minutes clip. Wow. What is this? This is over 10 years old now, isn't it?
I mean, it was posted to YouTube in 2012, but I don't know if that's when the air date.
Oh, okay.
2 years ago, this region had the highest malnutrition rate in Niger. But now, after widespread use of Plumpy Nut, it has the lowest. Dr. Shepard told us they'll be able to treat more than 120,000 kids this year, up from just 10,000 3 years ago.
What about peanut allergies?
We just don't see it.
You don't see kids with peanut allergies?
We don't see children with symptoms of allergy. In developing countries, food allergies.
Because they live in the dirt and they're not being fucking bathed in Purell by their fucking hippie liberal parents all the time, and everything isn't rubbed and scrubbed. We don't see it. And by the way, Anderson Cooper couldn't accept. He said, like, what about peanut allergies? And he's like, nah, we don't see it. No peanut allergies. Like, he was like, his mom is Gloria Vanderbilt. Right. He grew up in a high rise in Manhattan. Everyone he knew had a peanut allergy.
Every private school in Manhattan has massive amounts of peanut allergies.
Right.
And these liberals, they want to make sure everybody's worried about global warming. And so now, if you go to some of these Central African nations, they don't care about global warming, Adam. They want running water. They want development. They don't want their limbs hacked off by the marauding tribe that's a few kilometers down the street. If we could just get them some development, some investment, some capital, they might be able to maybe have babies that live longer than 10 years old, and they might be able to put a roof over their head and might have access to advanced medicines.
Well, this is a good segue, because I think people need to understand, so bizarre. First off, I always say to Dr. Drew, all roads lead to narcissism. Mm-hmm. So we think that we can control literally the universe from California, essentially.
Right.
Manhattan and Los Angeles can control the entire globe. And so if we make sure that our thermostats never set lower during the summers than 79 degrees, then somehow we, Leonardo DiCaprio and his Prius are going to fix global warming. Now, my thing is I'm all for the environment. I don't know anybody who isn't. Everyone loves clean water and pristine outdoors, and no one wants to leave a bad globe for their kids and their kids' kids. But I actually heard a study the other day. I'll paraphrase, but it's something like half the greenhouse gases are from 25 cities in the world, and 23 of them are in China.
Sounds about right.
So, but what's that have to do with me living in La Cañada and lowering or raising my thermostat? It's this bizarre thing, and it's really the absence of religion. I'm not religious, but nothing has taken its place. These people, religion left and something else took its place, something magical.
So before the Industrial Revolution, you used to have these tribes that would literally worship the sun god. They would do a dance in order for the rain god to bless their crops. And that's where we are now with these modern day environmentalists. They're literally trying to sacrifice comfort in order to appease the environmental god of wisdom. And to think that anybody, can control what the temperature of the world is going to be in 100 years is beyond arrogant. So I said this the other day on Fox and just got ridiculed by the left. I said, we're not going to be able to control the environment. We just have to adapt to it, right? So right now, I think the Netherlands, 25% of the Netherlands is literally below sea level. But the Netherlands has learned to adapt to that. They've created reservoirs. They've done a lot of work to make sure that there's no flooding. And they haven't destroyed their economy doing that. So if the sea levels rise 9 inches 100 years from now, you don't think a country that's just blasted Bezos into the atmosphere can deal with 9 inches of sea levels rising? I think we could handle that pretty well.
Well, you used to not be able to live in Arizona, and now you can thrive in Arizona because they have air conditioning. They figured it out. There's another story, which was, I think, a book review in the New York Times about how air conditioning is bad or whatever it is. But again, you start to see, to me, I'm just trying to I'm sort of put the collage together, and I see everything through the eyes of my mom. But it's like, this is the same people. What they do is they talk about how horrible America is over and over and over again, and then they always go, "I love this country. I'm just trying to." It's like everything that comes out of your mouth is horrible about this country. Do you love this country or not? I don't think you do, because let's replace the country. Let's just make it your kid. Every single thing you say about your kid is horrible all the time, and then you go, but I love little Bradley. He's the best. It's like, you do? Why is everything so horrible?
So the air conditioner was invented by a guy named Carrier about 100 years ago. And it was just for making sure the thread counts were fine in the factories, because it got too hot. You couldn't, make textiles. And then they started mass producing it and putting it in offices. And now people who are typing these left-wing blogs from the comfort of their air-conditioned midtown offices are saying we need to get rid of air conditioning because it is contributing to global warming and it is killing us. But actually, it's people that are living without air conditioning that are being feasted upon by pestilence and disease in the subtropics that could use a little air conditioning. And who was the guy that fought Muhammad Ali? I think he was one of the best boxers of all time. He was just on Fox News primetime.
Joe Frazier?
Not Joe Frazier.
George Foreman?
Foreman was on. And to
Randall Tex Cobb? No, he never. I don't think he fought Ali. Well, go ahead.
And to your point about your child, he said loving America is like falling in love with your wife. You're not ever going to allow anybody to say anything bad about your wife. You would never say anything horrible about a woman you loved, and you're not going to sit there and let other people just trash the person that you love. And he said that's how he feels about the United States. And he's not going to tolerate anybody trashing the United States because he is in love with the United States. So if you're actually in love with the country, you don't talk about the country like that. They're not actually in love.
Right. Yeah, it'd just be like, oh, listen, my wife, Janine, is a horrible shrew who can't cook, but she has so much potential. I just want her to find, I want that lazy bitch to find her potential. It's
right. My wife is racist, and she's a horrible mother.
That's right.
Who spends all of my money. But, she's okay. She could be improved in a few ways.
She oppresses the indigenous people.
Yeah. She beats the maid. She poisons the food, and we have a horrible garden. But she's okay. She's better than China.
It's weird. I don't know. I feel like with the racism thing, I feel like it's like at the end of The Wizard of Oz, where someone just has to kill the witch and celebrate. Like people need to rise up. People need to say, "Shut up!" Like not another lecture from Ibram X. Kendi or whoever these fucking idiots. Name is probably Gerald Wilson or something.
Right.
I don't even know Ibram, it's always comical to me.
Can
What's
we get
Ibram X Kendi's real name?
Can we get the birth certificate of that
have
guy?
a fucking laugh. These grifters, they're fucking race baiters, like roll into town, put an X in the middle of their name, write a book about toxic racism, and then Ibram Henry Rogers. Oh, so Ibram is good, but Henry Rogers, not X. Ibram X. What's Kendi? Okay.
Kendi, yeah, that means loved one.
Where's the X come from? Malcolm? We all have to, not Jamal Warner either.
Yeah, he changed his middle name to Zolani, which starts with an X, which is a word for peace.
Oh. We all have to fucking listen to these idiots. It's insane.
Yeah, so if they ever come for me, I'm just going to put an X after Waters, and maybe they'll leave me alone. I do think, though, Adam, eventually the left starts to eat their own, and they'll start coming after people. They came after, what's the Bachelor guy, remember?
Yeah.
They came after him. They've come after people before, and once you start knocking down probably the leadership of the Republican Party, of the Democratic Party, some of their idols, and calling them racist, that's when it stops. Because right now they're on offense, but when it comes around and they start having to play defense with the race stuff, they won't tolerate it anymore and they'll shut it down.
It is so insidiously bad to turn a group into victims. It will destroy anyone, micro or macro, who thinks of themselves as a victim shall not flourish. Do you guys know? I mean, we know human beings. I have some family members. They think themselves victims. They are not successful, and they sure as fuck ain't happy. You cannot be successful and or happy if you think you are a victim. So this notion of converting everyone in society, I mean, gay or lesbian or black or Hispanic or whatever, bi-curious or whatever group you're focusing on this week, into a victimized group shall destroy that group.
And that's what critical race theory does. They divide the country into two groups, the victims and the oppressors. And if you are white, you are automatically an oppressor. And if you are black, you are automatically a victim of that white oppressor. So you remember what you were like in 6th grade. You were probably a mess, just like I was. Couldn't dress, hated your parents, getting into fights at school, hormones raging, terrible situation. You're going to sit down and tell that white kid, not only are you bad because your ancestors enslaved half the country, but you are currently oppressing Jamal, who you're sitting next to in class, and victimizing him, and you need to apologize for that. You need to be ashamed of that. And Jamal, Jeremy, who you're sitting next to, is actively responsible for everything that's bad in the country, everything that's bad that's happened to your family, and you will never be as successful as Jeremy because your skin is black. How poisonous is that to do to a child? And these brains aren't even fully developed. I mean, this is really hardcore Marxist propaganda, and they're doing it on purpose to divide and conquer. And right now, parents are just outraged. They're not going to tolerate this, and it's going to have a huge blowback in these midterms.
Well, I would say we shouldn't tolerate it for the sake of the young black child.
Right.
You're not helping at all.
And the black and Hispanic parents are also outraged by critical race theory because what do they want? They want their kid to get into a great school.
Right.
And they know this has nothing to do with academics. It's not going to improve their SAT scores. This is a class that's separate from history. This isn't just history class. You're learning a new theory. This is taking another hour out of your academic calendar each day to tell you your child's a victim, and black parents aren't going for it.
Chris, what was that article that I was talking to Gina about off the air, I think, which is another one of these race grifters. What's her nose? Was talking about how it's not okay for comedians to...
Robin, the author of White Fragility, Robin
DiAngelo?
Yeah.
By the way, I've never been more disgusted with society. with our society
today, as you are today?
In the recent months, like when I see people walking along the beach alone with a mask on, or driving their car with a mask on, or yelling at me for walking alone on a horse trail with no mask, or these grifters hawking their books and it becoming almost curriculum now at Fortune 500 companies, where everyone just, this crazy bitch shits a book out, and every Fortune 500 company grabs the book like it was the Bible 100 years ago and just enacts all her insane ideas. I had no idea we were this insanely gullible, stupid, weak. Mainly, it's just a character. These are character issues.
Yeah.
No, by the way, none of the people, first off, no one likes Robin DiAngelo. They all are sucking up to her because they're all just scared that they're going to get canceled or whatever it is. But is she explaining? I'll tease this.
Yeah, we should tease it.
She's explaining why.
She's just explaining where comedy lies within racism.
The least funny, most hateful shrew on the planet is going to give us a lecture on mirth. All right, let me hit Candid. They're specialists for everything: mechanics, roofers, plumbers. But when you want to fix your uneven, crooked teeth, well, you see an orthodontist, right? Candid, invisible, comfortable, and removable aligners. Unlike poorly reviewed or insanely priced clear aligner companies that use general dentists, Candid only works with orthodontists. So the same experts in tooth movement, these are licensed orthodontists who create and prescribe your plan. And start to finish, and they can monitor you remotely. So you're not working with a general dentist. You're working with an orthodontist who specializes in this. Book an appointment at a Candid studio near you or from the comfort and convenience of your own home. Average treatment is just 6 months and costs thousands less than traditional braces and include free teeth whitening. It's Candid, right, Dawson?
Candid can help you get the straighter, brighter smile you've always wanted. Right now, you can save $75 on your Candid starter kit when you get started from home, or you can book an appointment at a Candid studio near you. Go to candidco.com/Adam and use code Adam. That's candidco.com/Adam. Code Adam. Take advantage of this limited time offer to save $75 on your starter kit. Candidco.com/Adam. Code Adam.
Jesse Waters is here. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back right after this. Back with Jesse Waters, the book, How I Saved the World. That's available now on Amazon and, of course, the show Waters World. As well, Saturdays, 8 Eastern, Fox, 5 o'clock. I see it out here. And the 5, of course, the Robin DiAngelo.
Yeah, so she's out promoting her new book called Nice Racism, How Progressive White People Perpetuate Racial Harm. In which she argues that subtle racism is more insidious than overt racism. And she's talking to a YouTuber.
I wonder if anyone who's ever been lynched historically would share that concept. The subtle stuff is worse than the overt stuff.
Yeah.
That's a microaggression, Adam. So I did an interview down at the University of North Carolina on microaggressions because they were fining people and had a list of things you weren't allowed to do at that university. One of the things you're not allowed to do, you're not supposed to invite someone to play golf. Because when you invite someone to play golf with you, that is assuming that they come from a socioeconomic background where they would have the privilege of even taking golf lessons and feeling comfortable at a club. So I would go out and I'd say, well, would you like to play golf? And she said, no, I don't want to play golf with you. That's a microaggression. That is, and fine, get someone else in the foursome.
Well, what about inviting someone to a buffet?
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's a microaggression.
How about a bouncy castle? Many kids
I think that's okay.
Did not have a bouncy castle.
That is okay. That's lower on the socioeconomic ladder than that. Also, Merry Christmas is very offensive, and people take offense to Merry Christmas.
Sure.
But there are a lot of things that we don't even realize we're being racially hostile about.
I know. Well,
if you say where are you from, you say, oh, where are you from?
Right.
That would maybe make someone feel uncomfortable. Like, oh, well, I'm not from this country. Maybe.
I got to tell you, we are so batshit fucking crazy. Every third Uber driver I've ever gotten around this country, and I've been in the back of a lot of Ubers in a lot of states, doing a lot of shows, have some sort of accent or something, and the first thing out of my mouth is, where are you from?
Yeah, where are you from?
And they love telling the story about where they're from.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation.
Right. But
by the way, they know they're from somewhere because they have a thick accent. They know they're West Virginia. Really, Habib? I can't understand you. Like, it's insane that we're trying to do this. It's also, we're so out of real racism. We're now on to the next chapter, which is, oh, you're racist. You just don't know it because you don't do anything that's racist.
Right.
That's their batshit crazy argument. Like, would that work for arsonists? Oh, no, you're an arsonist. I've never lit a match. Yeah, I know, but see, you don't know.
That's right.
Of course, you deny being an arsonist because that's how we know you're an arsonist.
Or, and this is the woman that just talked about this, you have white fragility. Mm-hmm. So if you don't think you have white fragility and you say, I'm not fragile, that right there proves that you are a fragile white person.
We're getting to the point where it's like, look, put the witch in the well. If she sinks to the bottom, she's innocent.
Right. It's a lot more scientific.
It really is. All right, speaking of witches, let's listen to Robin
talking to
DiAngelo.
YouTuber Joseph Jeff and explaining where comedy belongs in this world of racism.
So comedy is, I think it's an excuse to get to be racist, right? Like irony. And I think TV shows like Family Guy and South Park and maybe a little bit The Simpsons, right, allowed white people to be racist self-consciously, right? Like, I know I'm being racist, and therefore it doesn't count and it's okay. And it's a lot like what I exposed that couple to at dinner. I'm still reinforcing racist
could you imagine dinner
tropes and ideologies and stories. It's still being reinforced in everybody's mind who's listening. And so I don't think it's benign to do it in a joking way. And there is a concept in comedy called punching up, not down.
All right. Could you imagine having dinner with this witch?
She has a peanut allergy, for sure.
Oh, my God. You'd be like, pass the salt. Why the salt? I just want some salt. But the pepper? No pepper?
No pepper.
The salt is white. Oh, my God. Give me the salt and the pepper. Please don't judge me.
I'll mix them together, I promise.
Yeah, in a harmonious fashion.
So she said The Simpsons now gives white people an excuse to be racist.
Of course.
Isn't The Simpsons created by one of the most liberal guys in Hollywood, Matt Groening or whatever his name is?
He doesn't know he's racist.
And then Apu, didn't Hank Aziz, I don't even remember the guy's name, he stopped being the voice.
Right.
For the
Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria. He stopped being the voice for Apu.
Oh, they don't even. They're so far out of problems. Right, they don't even know what they're talking about.
They thought it was perpetuating a stereotype. They're on
to the Simpsons.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying. It's laughable.
And that's what I was saying. Once they come for the Simpsons, that's when the left says, "Hey, you've gone too far."
Here's the other thing. I mean, first off, who anointed this bitch an expert on race? How the fuck does she know anything? My fucking Labrador knows more than this bitch. Number one. Number two, it's why I like carpentry and skills. I'm a carpenter. She can't fucking fake it as a carpenter because she doesn't know the difference between a mortise and a shiplap joint. She doesn't know jack shit. You can't fucking fake a skill. You do TIG welding or MIG welding or whatever it is. You operate a lathe. You either do it or you don't. You can't talk your way around it.
So if we were on Survivor and she was there, she would be useless. She couldn't make a fire. She couldn't make a fishing pole. We would have her off the island immediately.
She wouldn't be voted off. She'd be eaten before the first ceremony.
Right. But so that's how useless she is. But now people that have no skills, no talent, that wouldn't be able to achieve any sort of affluence or success in any other capacity have found this venue. This racial industry to profit from.
It's great.
And it's now a whole industry.
I know.
And you know, what's his name? Who are all these race hustlers? Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton.
Right.
These were the pioneers that just kind of blazed the ground for people like her to just make. She's probably making deep into the six figures as a consultant.
Oh, look. I don't know. I'll paraphrase, but everything starts off as a movement, eventually turns into a business. And then it turns into a grift.
It's a grift now.
Now it's a grift.
We're in the grift zone.
We're in the grift part of this.
Yes.
Well, let's just say Ibram X. Kendi or What's Her Nose or Jesse Jackson or whatever. All right, let's just say, okay, you guys are the anointed CEOs of race. Let's go ahead and just check your stock. Let's just see how the company's been going. Let's just see how you're running this company. So Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, the rest of you fucking hustlers, let's see. All right, Black Lives Matter. Let's check your portfolio. Let's see what you're doing with the company. You're the CEO of black people. How's it going?
So
let's look at a performance.
You've raised $100 million over the course of the last 3 years. Where'd the money go? People hate each other more. There's more racial disharmony. There's more violence in these cities. And I can't see any benefits besides everyone's just mad at each other. Oh, you've canceled the guy from The Bachelor.
Right.
That's all you got. One
Harrison.
scalp. You got Chris Harrison.
Right.
That's about it.
Right. And he got $20 million on a wrongful termination.
Yeah, you paid a white guy $20 million to go now live in Malibu for eternity.
That's the best thing that ever happened to him. He was probably sick of that gig anyway, and he got this huge cash buyout at the end. So yeah, there's your scalp.
And then you have Stacey Abrams, who now has a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio. The two other women behind the Black Lives Matter movement also have real estate throughout the country. They have an island, I think, a little place in an island, all white island, of course.
Oh, again, nothing whiter than Topanga Canyon.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're from out here,
you know.
If you think, Encino is white, nothing is whiter than Topanga Canyon.
Right.
It is she bought a house there, which is fine. I'm just saying that is the whitest 9-mile stretch of highway in Southern California.
If everyone's that's white is racist, why would you choose to go live in the most white area of California?
Why are you throwing your babies over a fence in Mexico into this racist melting pot here, this cauldron of racism?
Can't be that bad of a country if everyone in the world wants to come.
Well, they never really think about that. I mean, that is the ultimate. Like, if this, in fact, is 1/100th of what these people are talking about, then why are Nigerians trying to come here? And then when they do come here, why are they so wildly successful? If this is, if you, I forget 20% accurate, your version of this country we're living in, Robin DiAngelo. If it's 1% accurate, your portrayal of this country, how is it that everybody from everywhere that looks different than Jesse and I is literally dying trying to get here?
The idea that we're debating racism, that it is such a luxury that this country is so fixated on something like that, where people, as you said, from Nigeria, they're not worried about racism over there. They're worrying about starvation. They're worrying about hunger. They're worrying about violence. They're worrying about getting sick. They come here, they turn on the TV, people are focused on racism.
It's a
privilege to have this much focus on racism.
No, it's literally a first world problem.
It is.
You alluded to it. I don't know what the study is, Chris, but the study came out, I don't know, last week. Race relations are like an all-time low. This is 5 years after, having a black president, a 2-term black president. Like, they have no, I guess here's the way I feel. I don't know how you feel. I feel that it's insanely irresponsible. I feel that them, CNN, MSNBC, and all these and even USA Today, LA Times, or New York Times, the constant insanity of their drumbeat of racism, of taking every story and infusing it. And Obama's the worst. He's turning into a race hustler. Him and Michelle Obama telling stories about getting froyo with her kids, and a white woman walked in front of them in line because she was invisible. And this is a racist country. It's like, you've never had anyone step in front of you in line, like, well, especially. By the way, I don't even know where the line is anymore. It's
confusing.
I go to the supermarket and I walk up to the check stand and I have like 80 people go, and I go, what? And there's a big long line of people, but it's not racism.
It's very confusing. And Michelle Obama said for the entire time she was at the White House, she just wants to go back and live a normal life where she can go to the grocery store and be a regular person. So the minute she leaves the White House and is a regular person at the grocery store, someone cuts in line like a regular person, doesn't recognize her, and then she complains.
Well, and President Obama, okay, so everyone hates me for these opinions. I think these people are getting people killed. I think they're stirring it up and they're turning this into what it shouldn't be. And a lot of the problems on the street you're seeing is a lot of freaked out people thinking we're living in a racist environment. And what he does, and he's been stirring it up a lot too, and he's completely changed his tune. He used to be sort of moderate and be sort of like, look, if I don't get elected, it's not because of the color of my skin, it's because I didn't get the message across. So what he does is he does this thing where he's like, well, we got our own race problems here. We got Ferguson, we got the Ferguson situation. It's like, your DOJ dispatched a bunch of lawyers over there and exonerated that cop. This is not a racist cop shooting. It isn't. You know it. Why do you keep talking about Ferguson as if it was? It's like, this is upside down world where you decide that the cop who shot the black kid was racist. You do it in the first 10 minutes. And then at some point, all the evidence comes in, and that's not how it went down. And then you wait another 10 minutes and go back to your first assumption.
Right, facts don't matter. I'm glad you brought up Ferguson, because they used to poll Gallup race relations, how black people view, how white people view. It was always in the high 70s for the last 3 decades. In 2014, after Ferguson, that is the moment where you see now race relations plummet in this country. And now only about 40 to 35% of people feel like race relations are good. And it's called the Ferguson effect. Remember, the police pull back. They're not going to be confrontational. They're not going to be policing aggressively, because why would they? They're going to
proactively.
They're going to get a viral video that's going to go out. It's not worth it. You see retirements. So then you put in the mindset of the population that white police officers are going out and hunting down black males. And the statistics, it's like you have more of a chance of dying from a bee sting, this is true, than being a black man murdered by a white cop in this country.
Yes.
But if you listen to CNN, it's like a race war.
It's getting people killed.
It is.
It's insane. And you just take Ferguson. I mean, Ferguson is, was it Michael Brown?
Yeah.
I think his name.
That was the hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah. So Michael Brown goes into a liquor store, strong arms some guy, threatens him, steals a bunch of Tiparillo cigarettes or something, and then leaves and walks down the middle of the street. Cop tells him, get out of the middle of the street, go use the sidewalk. He doesn't listen to him. Cop backs the car up. He puts his hands on Michael Brown, according to the forensic stuff, reaches in, wrestles with the cop. Cop shoots him dead. Okay. I don't know where race factors in to this thing. This was pretty preventable. Like, he could have just went off to the sidewalk and walked home.
You're not even allowed to say that anymore. On Fox, you get into situations where we cover these racial shootings, and if you even say, oh, well, he had some drugs in his system, or if you read off his felony rap sheet, the left will come at you and they will say, you're besmirching the life of a black man that was murdered by a police officer. You can't even tell the whole story. Well, they're like scaring you into silence.
Of course. And then so what happens? Hands up, don't shoot, and the whole town burns down and riots across the country and black-white relations, and CNN fuels all this shit.
Right.
But Obama could have said something too. And the point is at some point, they get Department of Justice, and they go down there, and they go over every scrap of evidence, and they don't come up. They never prosecute the cop. He doesn't get indicted. They find Anthony Brown's DNA on the cop. He wasn't shot in the back. End of discussion. And so I'm not saying that white cops don't shoot black men. I'm saying Ferguson was not that.
Yeah.
So keep walking. But instead,
no, I know.
We have to grab it, turn it into something, and
well, they're invested at that point.
They're
because
invested
they go in
something
so hard,
that didn't happen.
Right. They go in so hard on a lie, and then once the facts come out, they're on to the next hustle. Because the facts always kind of drip out and drip out. You never realize it at the time exactly what happened.
Right.
Because the cloud of war. And it takes patience and it takes attention to facts to find out the truth. But then by that time, 3 months later, there's another African-American that's shot, and they go on to that one. And what they have to do is they have to scare the black community into believing that whites want to put them back in chains. Joe Biden actually said that.
Yes.
And then they have to make the white people of this country feel like so guilty about something that maybe their great-great-great-grandfather never even did. Wasn't even related to them. So it's white guilt combined with black fear divides the country. So it keeps black Americans voting for Democrats, and it keeps just the right amount of guilty white people voting for Democrats. And that's how you get the coalition in the Democrat Party.
It's destroying the country. It's getting people killed. It's insane to me. And it's like for CNN and I mean, again, MSNBC and every major outlet just about out there, it's like a fiduciary duty that they're not carrying through.
Well, I'm glad you said that word, because if you look at the ratings, there's profit in these racial shootings for them. CNN ratings spike. We see the ratings every day. I see them every day. Every time there's a racial controversy, especially involving police, their ratings are huge. I mean, they did. I hate to talk about it like this, but just the George Floyd Memorial or that story in general. I mean, you add millions of viewers to CNN when stuff like that happens. So sometimes there's legitimate stories like that to cover, and then sometimes other stories like you mentioned, the Mike Brown situation, where at that point they have to go big with it because they've already juiced their numbers to a certain extent. They have to keep covering it, and they have to just cover the narrative of it, because it's not news, it's the narrative of these stories, these racial stories they have to pursue, and it's for profit. Because the CNN parent company make a lot of money off of it. What is it, AT&T owns CNN? I don't even know anymore. But they make a ton of money. And they make a ton of money off China. That's why they don't want to cover the lab leak theory. A lot of these parent companies from these major news corporations, they have a lot of money in China. They have a lot of money in these racial hoaxes. And that's why you see the coverage the way it is, because unfortunately, it's about money.
Yeah, well, it's if it's not about money, then they're just flat out evil. So
there's a little bit of that too. It's about money and political power.
It is interesting times we're living in, according to maybe an old Chinese proverb. Jesse, I want to plug the book. First, I'll do a little spot for Solo Stove. So, summer, man. Time to get outside. Time to light a fire, day or night. Smokeless fire pit from Solo Stove turns summer moments into unforgettable memories. I have a Solo Stove. It is so good. I like building. I like cars. This thing is stainless steel. This is world-class construction. It is a nice piece. You don't get the fumes. It's a stainless steel construction. It's designed to regulate airflow and burn more efficiently. So little smoke, you'll wonder how there's so much fire, and it's easy to light with just a few bits of starter. Lifetime warranty, 30-day free return policy as well. It's Solo Stove, right, Dawson?
No one needs a reason to gather around the fire. Solo Stove just took away any reason not to, and now you can get $10 off when you use promo code Adam at checkout. Just go to solostove.com. Remember, you get $10 off when you use promo code Adam.
Well, we need more voices like Jesse Waters because I found the big problem is people get this stuff foisted on them constantly, and most people just kind of eat it. You know what I mean? Like, you're racist. You just don't know you're racist. Okay, sorry. I just want to raise my kids. I'm sorry. Maybe I am. I'll look into it. Like, they don't go, shut the fuck up, you nut. Like,
I'm racist. I'll look into it.
Yeah.
My bad.
If you want to know,
just let me in.
The point is people have to just step up at this point because, and I'll tell you why. Getting back to Chris Harrison, has an apology worked for any of these people ever?
You never can apologize. And he tried to apologize on his own network. And Michael Strahan, fellow ABC colleague, after he did the mea culpa, which was written by lawyers, of course, comes back on set and said, didn't look like he meaned it. Like, what? Like, well, you're supposed to help the guy out. And he just kneecapped his own guy.
Also, it's always so weird. I just saw him interviewing the country guy, dropped the N-bomb, who's drunk in his driveway and his career's been destroyed. But the point is it's also, I never get why they don't think it's weird. Like, hey, Michael, Strahan, we got an assignment for you. All right, who said something about black people? I could imagine it'd be the weirdest thing ever if I was like the white guy who just talked to black people. Like, you said honky in a tweet a few years ago. You know how that made me feel?
Yeah.
As a representative of white people.
Yes, speaking on behalf of white people, that was very offensive. And you know how fragile we are.
Well, there's the White Fragility. Oh, yeah, Morgan Wallen. That's who it was. All right, the book, How I Saved the World's available now on Amazon and, of course, Water's World, Saturdays on Fox, and then The Five, of course, as well. And what else? You can shoot him a tweet at Jesse B. Waters. And until next time, this is Adam Carolla for Jesse Waters and Paul Bryan, Gina Grant, and Ian Bagg saying mahalo.